Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. Emotions were high and all over the place last night for the Flames win over the Dallas Stars in game one. But we cannot see that kind of game ever again if the Flames really want to win.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, joined by my co-host today, my little kitty, Brew Brew. Today's episode is going to be a good one. We are, of course, recapping game one of round one for the Flames against the Dallas Stars. I hope you're having a great day today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Flames your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Audible, Odyssey, and of course, we're free 99 on YouTube as well. Normally, I don't have my cat with me, but today I do because he is extra clingy. Oh, of course, as soon as I say that, he wants to jump down. But we need to talk about last night's game because that was a disaster. Regardless if it was a win or not, it was an ugly win. Blake Coleman, in the article that I went over yesterday, talked about how the better team cuts the crap when it comes to taking extra penalties and these unnecessary penalties and stuff after the whistle. And Rasmus Andersson gets it ejected from the game because of stuff that's going on after the whistle. And it was after a hit, Matthew Tkachuk threw, and then the whistle was blown, and they fought a little bit, and then the whistle was blown, and then John Klingberg and Rasmus Andersson start going at it, and it wasn't even a good fight or really even worth something fighting over to begin with. The Flames were just not able to rein it in either after taking those penalties and ending the first period. Do not get it. It's getting lost in here that Elias Lindholm scored the one and only game in the first period on the power play. So congratulations. But what I'm having a hard time with is the penalties. All of the penalties that were taken. And I don't have a good excuse for them. The Flames sure as heck didn't. But maybe it was first game jitters or something. But they cannot ever play like that again. It was so unnecessary and so risky that you just don't do it. You don't go out there in the first game of the first round and start throwing haymakers because you want to start fighting. This isn't, boxing or MMA. Like, you don't get to just start fighting people because you don't like the way something happened. Retaliating and, making sure someone gets their payback is fine. But when it's not even like a questionable hit or a big hit even, it was just pathetic. It's like they just wanted to go at each other. And then, you have your top defenseman getting tossed because he's involved in a second fight after the whistle. And I don't get it. I don't understand why the Flames went out and did what they did. It was severely undisciplined. It was unnecessary. And it was just uncalled for. This team is so much better than what they were last night. And they let Dallas get the best of them and get in their heads. Blake Coleman, he technically scored a goal, and it was called back due to interference. It was textbook interference. But, none of these calls are getting called like a month from now. Or I shouldn't say none. Most of them aren't getting called a month from now. And Blake Coleman, I don't know what you did. Which one of these refs' wives you dated, or like something because he was number one on their like crap list. He was not the guy that you wanted to be last night. The refs were just all over him. It was just a very frustrating game in my opinion. There was no other way to describe it. No one thought that this was going to be a 1-0 game. And it was just a lot of emotions all over the place. Markstrom had an easy night. Ottinger was busy. Flames didn't let Dallas get a shot on goal for the first 11 minutes of the period. Okay. That's not... it was just very... I don't want to call it boring or bland because it wasn't that, but it was not Flames hockey. Sorry. My Apple Watch decided to talk, but it just wasn't the Flames that we know and have watched all season. It's like they let Dallas get into their heads in that first period, and it just spiraled out of control afterwards. Markstrom literally just stood there. And maybe he had 16, they had 16 shots all night. He had nothing. I mean, great. That's great. He had an easy workload. But he had nothing to work with. The team in front of him was doing a good job, but they did put him at risk when they were on the penalty kill and whatnot, because you're obviously down a man. You don't have that extra attacker. You're not fighting the way that you normally do or playing the way that you normally do. And I think what was so frustrating to me, it was just that it was penalty after penalty after penalty. And then they had power play advantages and couldn't generate. But we're going to talk about that next because I am so frustrated with how last night went, even though it was a 1-0 win. But 1-goal games are not going to win you the Stanley Cup. That is not how you're going to win in the postseason. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it is now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless, seemingly intimidating questions and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts for you while you can do it for yourself at home, saving a bit of money? RockAuto.com has everything you need to get your car fixed and ready to go for those summer road trips. I love me a good Memorial Day weekend road trip. I love me a good, summer road trip anytime, anywhere. And Rock Auto will help me get my car ready. So let's help you get your car ready. Why choose to save 30, 50, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership when RockAuto.com is right there for you? Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They don't have different price tiers for, different members or experience or anything like that, which is my favorite thing about it. Go and explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your auto part needs. That's my favorite thing about this website, is how easy it is to use. I know that I drive a Hyundai Sonata Limited, so that's what I type in, and it pops up everything I could possibly need, and it's wonderful. I don't have to look for a certain car part and wonder if it's compatible with my car. It will pull it up. So you can start getting your car ready today at rockauto.com, and you can go there right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Flames, especially as we get this postseason rolling. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at JessBelmosto. I am so frustrated. Watching this game, it was just back and forth. Just penalty after penalty. My watch is literally telling me to breathe. So let's no, I'm frustrated. But They could not buy an even strength goal. You know why? Because they were too busy killing off penalties every other shift to even try. Or they had the power play. There were 5 penalties each between, like, there were 10 penalties assessed total in 5 between both teams. And one of the worst parts of this game was watching them go in and out of the box, in and out of the box, in and out. And nothing happening. Like, it's not even like you could say, oh, they have like on the power play, they scored last time, so they'll be able to figure something out this time. No, they couldn't get it together. You know why? Because they were down Rasmus Andersson, who is a great playmaker, but for whatever reason, nothing was working last night. And I think the Stars were just a little too in your face for the Flames' liking, and they were so aggravated and just playing this mental game. And like I said, it spiraled from there. It spiraled out of control, and the Flames were just kind of like, yeah, we're going to go with it. And then John Klingberg had the audacity to say post-game that him and the Stars are going to be going after Matthew Tkachuk. Okay, good luck. Have fun. He'll be scoring goals. But I get it. It's the postseason. You want to talk your trash. You want to do this. You want to do that. But what? Why? Like, just try to pretend like you're not a tough guy for 5 seconds. I tweeted it, but it gave me the same vibes as that annoying blonde kid from Polar Express. And it's just like, yeah, we're going to go after Matthew Tkachuk. Like, okay, go ahead, do that. Let me know how well that works out for you. I think that they're going to do their best to continue to get under the Flames' skin. And it is going to show and test the Flames' discipline, especially when offense is kind of struggling the way that it was last night for the Flames. They just they were hitting the post. They weren't getting any luck. They were doing fine, like setting up passes and whatever, but there were occasionally a few me to even say this, but where they just like regressed with communication or chemistry, and just they completely regressed with fundamentals in terms of overpassing or silly little turnovers. But I think that the Stars, this is where the Flames truly lucked out last night. Even if they were playing down to the Stars level, the Stars had some of the worst zone entries I have ever seen. Players were going one way while the others were going the other. It just did not work. I don't know what Rick Bowness is doing in practice, but zone entries was clearly not one of them, because there were just so many moments where it was like you could have easily generated a high danger scoring chance, but you weren't. You weren't able to do that. And Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, like they didn't look as dangerous and tough as they used to. Joe Pavelski, though, he sure did. He sure did. And I thought that it was just a very weird game one. And I'm going to explain it away as, I don't know how, like jitters, like first day of school jitters, because both of these teams didn't make the playoffs last year, and the last time they were in the playoffs, they played each other, and it was very messy. It was just messy, and I keep going back to that, but like the Flames just were not playing good enough hockey, I should say. They were struggling. They could not find anything to help them out. And it was a nice one-touch pass from Matthew Tkachuk to Lindholm that did end up finding the back of the net. But what if that goal had not happened? I don't like living in whataboutisms or anything like that. I just think that it's very telling that they could not even score on the power play last night, other than one time. 1 out of 5 times. So they clearly have their work cut out for them and have a bit more work to do, because I don't like what we saw last night. I don't think that Daryl Sutter likes what we saw last night. And I am just so blown away right now by the fact that it was as physical as it was in game 1. But coming up next, we are going to talk about, again, what needs to improve so we never have to talk about game 1 again. And before we do that, I'm going to talk to you about Built Bar. Built Bars are a delicious tasting protein bar that everyone needs in their cabinet, in their diet, and in your repertoire, in your palate. They are covered in 100% chocolate, and they have the first ever protein-infused marshmallows, which are absolutely delicious, that are also covered in 100% chocolate. Built Bars are a great way to get extra protein and get all those macros that you need to hit your goals. I know for me, I do not eat enough protein, so when I am on the go, I really need to, on campus, especially this time of year, I shovel protein, the Built Bars down in between study sessions and getting my show ready for the next day. So head on over to built.com today and use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off of your next order at built.com. Wow. I feel like this episode is just so negative. The Flames just won their first game of the series, and I am talking about how bad it was. Because it was bad. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, at least they won. Well, yes, that's great. They won, but they could have played a much better game. And when you start letting bad hockey slide, you start seeing what you saw from the Flames last regular season and the postseason before, and then 2019-2020 season. And you just start to see mediocrity. You hold your players accountable into a certain standard, and you make sure they get it done. It's that simple, right? Game 2 is tomorrow night, and there are plenty of things that need to tighten up in between now and then. And number 1 being that discipline. The penalties. I don't care. I truly do not give a flying hoot that the penalty kill went 100% last night. I don't. I just don't care. You allowed the Dallas Stars to get a man advantage 5 times. 5. That is unacceptable in the postseason. In the regular season, I get it, but 5. Mark Giordano's old number. That's so many chances for them to score on that man advantage. Granted, it's almost like half of their shots on goal through the entire game, but I want this team to focus on getting the puck in the net. Okay? There needs to be some sort of discipline and accountability, because, leave this hucking your body around to players like Brett Ritchie and Milan Lucic. Okay, that's what they're on your fourth line for. They are these big body dudes who will slam whoever they need to slam. Retaliation, whatever it may be, is silly for, your big stars to be doing it. For Rasmus Andersson to be out there doing that, it's silly. And a quote actually just came in from Daryl Sutter and Noah Hannafin in regards to John Klingberg's comments last night. And Sutter says, whatever, don't think those guys are going to be fighting each other again. And then Hannafin goes, it's playoffs. Yeah, honestly, he's not wrong. Sutter. I think that the Stars, they tried to go out there and be like these big, tough, in your face guys. But I think deep down that they're such an inconsistent hockey team that we're not going to see that. We might get a little bit more offense from them in game 2, but they're so inconsistent. Remember when we dealt with this with the Flames and how frustrating it was for them and how in their own head they got? That's what they're doing. Uno reverse. So the Flames knows what it takes to beat a team like the old Flames. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I hope so. But go out there and shoot the puck. Even the cat agrees. The cat agrees that you need to be shooting the puck. I have such a hard time sitting here and like giving this team praise and like kissing their butts when they scored 1 goal on the Dallas Stars in the playoffs. In the playoffs. Cut out this extracurricular activities after the whistle. Remind them that you're doing what they can't when you score multiple goals a night and Markstrom's barely seeing any shots. Yesterday or last night after the post game, I listened to Game Over on the Steve Dangle's network, and Peter Klein said something along the lines of they should have just pulled Markstrom and gone with an extra attacker. Yeah, there were definitely some times where I was like, what is happening? Because Markstrom, we didn't see that side of the ice very often. You just didn't. And I want to see that again tomorrow night, but I want to see it with more urgency from the Flames in a matter of scoring. I don't want to see another 1-goal game. A lone goal game, I should say. Because you know what? If a game ends, 3-2, 4-3, whatever, that's Daryl Sutter hockey. And last night was Daryl Sutter hockey, but not in the good way. That's all I have. If I don't have any more predictions, we went through this 2 years ago because every time I tried to say something nice about this team, they would just fall apart on the ice. So I'm going to talk bad and hope that they do well because reverse psychology is clearly what it takes to win around here. So thank you everyone for tuning into today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am Jess Belmosto. You can find me on Twitter. You can find the show wherever you get your favorite podcasts. I hope this show is your favorite podcast. You can rate the show, leave a nice little review. Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Odyssey, Audible, YouTube. Come hang out with me in the comments. I would love to chat with you. And I will see you, what's today? Wednesday? Thursday for some more previewing of Game 2. And hopefully we get some accountability from the players because I don't like how last night went and they shouldn't either. Talk to you then.